The forgotten sector. The vast expanse of the void stretched infinitely in every direction, a canvas of darkness speckled with the cold glimmer of distant stars. A colossal starship, its hull battered by cosmic debris and time, drifted through the forgotten sector, a region of space long abandoned by the known galactic civilizations. The ship, the Eos Dawn, was humanity's last desperate gamble, a vessel sent beyond the mapped edges of the Galactic Alliance's territory in search of resources, knowledge, and hope. Commander Elias Mercer stood at the command bridge, his piercing blue eyes locked onto the holographic map before him. A dozen crew members, humans, and a handful of their alien allies operated the ship's systems in tense silence. "We're picking up an anomaly, Commander," Lieutenant Rice reported, her voice steady, but laced with an unease that had settled over the crew since they entered this sector. "It's massive, and it's moving." Elias frowned. "Moving? What kind of movement?" Rice hesitated, tapping the controls to magnify the readings. "It's shifting, like it's adapting to our sensors. It's organic but mechanical. And it's..." The ship trembled as the lights flickered. The temperature dropped slightly, and an oppressive silence filled the air. "Status report," Elias barked, gripping the railing. "The anomaly. It's here," whispered Chief Engineer Patel, his face pale as he stared at the screen. "It's reacting to us." Elias turned to the massive viewport at the front of the bridge. And then he saw it. A void in the fabric of space, darker than the darkness itself, stretched across the cosmos like a living wound. Inside it, shifting forms of impossible geometry twisted in and out of existence, as though reality itself was being rewritten. Then, a sound. A low, reverberating hum, like a song being sung by the universe in a voice that wasn't meant for mortal ears. And suddenly, the Eos Dawn was no longer alone. The eyes that watched. Alarms blared as the ship's automated defenses activated. Red lights bathed the bridge in a warning glow, but there was nowhere to run. The void outside began to churn, and from within it, they emerged. Not ships, not creatures, something in between. Shadowed figures with elongated forms, their bodies shifting between liquid and solid, hovered outside the ship. Their surfaces reflected the light of distant stars, yet no true details could be discerned. Their presence was overwhelming, as if they were less a species and more an inevitability, something that had always existed but was only now revealing itself. And then they spoke. The sound didn't come through the ship's speakers. It wasn't a transmission. It wasn't even sound at all. It was inside their minds. "You are not of the design." Elias clenched his jaw as he felt his consciousness ripple, as if something was sifting through his memories, his thoughts, his fears. The crew staggered, some clutching their heads as if they could shield themselves from the invading presence. "We mean no harm," Elias managed, pushing back against the overwhelming force. "We are explorers." The presence laughed, or at least something like laughter vibrated through the ship, shaking it to its core. "Explorers, a word for those who seek. But do you know what you seek? Or do you stumble in the dark, unaware of the abyss beneath your feet?" Elias took a step forward. "Who are you?" The figures outside pulsed, their shapes flickering between dimensions. "We are the ones who observe, the keepers of design. And you are the flaw." The ship trembled again, this time more violently. A sickening sensation filled the air, as if the universe itself was shifting to accommodate a new reality. The bridge crew fell to their knees, their minds drowning in visions of endless stars, of civilizations born and erased, of time folding upon itself. And then, one word rose above the chaos, clear and undeniable. "Human." The figures outside recoiled as if burned. The void around them twisted, and for the first time, there was a flicker of something other than dominance in their presence. Was it fear? The error in creation. The overwhelming presence withdrew slightly, like a storm pulling back before the final strike. Elias gasped for breath. the suffocating weight of the alien consciousness easing just enough for him to think clearly. "Why did you call us a flaw?" he demanded. A moment of silence stretched between them, and then images flooded his mind. Not words, not language, but knowledge. Pure, raw, and unfiltered. He saw a time before time. A universe where every civilization was sculpted with precision, molded to exist in perfect harmony with the cosmic balance. Every species was designed, crafted with intentional purpose by the ones who observe. Each had their place, their role in the grand design. But then, something happened. A world was born outside the script. A world that did not fit. A planet where chaos reigned, where adaptation was not a choice but a necessity. A planet where survival was not guaranteed, where creatures fought, killed, evolved, not through divine intention, but through the sheer, ruthless will to exist. Earth. Humanity was never supposed to be. You are an anomaly. The voices whispered, their tone shifting. A deviation. You were not meant to survive. Elias's heart pounded. But we did. The presence shuddered. Yes, you did. And then, a question rippled through the void. What happens to an error that is too great to erase? The figures outside the ship trembled, their forms losing shape. The void around them fluctuated. They had come here expecting to erase the flaw, to remove the mistake. But now, something was wrong. They were hesitating. Elias took a step forward. You fear us. The air vibrated with something that wasn't quite an answer. You tried before, didn't you? Elias pressed. You tried to fix us, to correct your mistake. Memories surfaced in his mind. Visions of great extinctions, cataclysms that should have wiped humanity from existence. Ice ages, asteroids, plagues. Disasters so perfectly timed, so devastating, that they could not have been coincidence. Yet, each time, humanity survived. Each time, they adapted. Each time, they grew stronger. You failed. The presence rippled in agitation. You changed. You refused the design. Elias straightened his shoulders. We are what we are. And now, we are here. You can't erase us anymore. The void trembled. The figures outside the ship flickered. For the first time in the history of existence, the ones who observe had encountered something they could not control. And humanity was staring right back at them. The day the gods blinked. The bridge of the Eo's dawn was silent, save for the hum of the ship's life support systems and the distant echo of something unseen shifting in the void outside. The weight of the revelation pressed down on Elias Mercer like a gravity well. Humanity, his people, were an anomaly, an accident in the grand design of the universe. And the ones who had created that design were standing outside, deciding what to do about their mistake. The air itself seemed to vibrate with unspoken tension. The figures in the void, the ones who observe, remained motionless, their forms flickering like mirages against the starlit abyss. You refused the design. Their voices resonated again, but something had changed. There was no longer just dismissal in their tone. There was hesitation. For the first time, Elias saw it for what it was. They were afraid. The ones who observe had spent eons shaping civilizations like sculptors at a divine wheel. But humanity had forged itself in fire, through war and suffering, without guidance, without purpose other than the raw, insatiable drive to exist. And that made them unpredictable. Elias took a slow step forward, every fiber of his being screaming at him that this moment was a turning point. You call us an error, he said, his voice steady. But you're not sure anymore, are you? The figures in the void rippled. The ship trembled again, but it was different this time. Less like an attack, more like an instinctive response. You've tried to erase us before, Elias continued. You failed. The void twisted, a soundless wave of unease rolling through it. You fear us. The voices surged back, sharper now. We do not fear, we observe. Elias narrowed his eyes. Then why haven't you acted? Silence. Outside the ship, the figures wavered, their once fluid forms flickering, as if something was fracturing within them. For the first time, in their endless existence, the gods of the universe hesitated. And that was all the proof Elias needed. The tipping point. The crew of the Eos Dawn watched in stunned silence as the presence outside their ship faltered. The ones who observe, the cosmic architects, the shapers of life itself, were uncertain. They had come to erase the error. But now, the error was staring back at them. Unbroken, unafraid. Elias exhaled slowly, stepping forward again, pressing his advantage. You shaped the universe, he said. You created all these species to fit your perfect system. But we didn't fit, did we? We weren't meant to exist. The air crackled. A distortion rippled across the void. You are a deviation. Maybe. Elias conceded. But we survived. The voices swelled again, but they weren't in unison anymore. They were fragmenting, conflicting with each other. You should not have. But we did. The bridge trembled again, this time not from the ones who observe, but from something else. The ship's systems flickered, as if responding to an unseen force. Then the ship's AI, Astra, whispered in Elias's ear through his comm. Commander, I'm detecting something. Inside them. Elias's heart pounded. What do you mean? They're not complete, Astra replied. They're bound by something. A rule. A limit. They can only observe, can only shape. But they cannot adapt. Elias's breath hitched. That was it. That was what they feared. The ones who observe were perfect. But perfection was static. They couldn't change, couldn't evolve, couldn't survive something that didn't follow the rules of the universe they had written. But humanity. Humanity was the ultimate anomaly. The only species in existence that had survived the worst the universe could throw at them. Ice ages, wars, plagues, extinction events. Every time, they had endured. And evolution, true, raw, chaotic adaptation, was something the ones who observe could never hope to match. Elias felt a slow, defiant grin spread across his face. We terrify you, don't we? The presence outside the ship convulsed. The figures flickered wildly, their forms no longer fluid but breaking apart at the edges. For the first time in eternity, the gods did not have control. The bridge crew watched in awe as the darkness around the ship collapsed inward. The ones who observe, these vast, unknowable entities, withdrew from the battle they had never thought they would lose. We will not erase you, they finally said, their voices fragmented. But neither will we protect you. We never needed protection, Elias shot back. The void shattered like glass, the figures vanishing into the darkness from which they came. And just like that, the gods blinked. For the first time in the history of the universe, the architects of reality had stepped back. And humanity, the anomaly, the error, the impossible survivors, were left standing. Alone, unstoppable, and free.